what's going on with the government's new UFO program? I have come across some new details, so let's dive into it. This is Cosmic Road, where I discuss UFOs and the paranormal. Please click like, please subscribe, share on social media, and as I'm going through it, please comment below and let me know what you think. Okay, this is starting from Twitter, and then we'll go to the article. This is from Dean Johnson, and he says, SSCI approved S4303 as amended 16-0 on June 22nd. They approved this committee report unanimously July 20th. It was posted on the congressional website, and there's a link to it. You can find that on Dean's Twitter page. I'll link to that. He says, for a detailed examination of the 31 pages of UAP-related text, see his article on Mirador, now updated to include later actions of the two intelligence panels in the Pentagon announcement. Okay, so let's see what he has to say. Congressional Intelligence and Armed Services Committees advanced new measures to probe for possible hidden UFO data. Building on the December 2021 enactment of the unprecedented Gillibrand-Rubio-Gallego law dealing with unidentified aerial phenomena, the Congressional Armed Services and Intelligence Committees are now pushing forward with new legislative requirements to press the Department of Defense and intelligence community to accelerate their so far sluggish implementation of the 2021 law. The new proposals also contain an array of mechanisms to probe for hidden or forgotten data on UFOs, aka unidentified aerospace phenomena, that the government, components, or contractors may have gathered since 1947. Now, they've been at this longer than 47. The men in black were in place at Roswell. They were already suppressing this information at Roswell. They already had mechanisms in place. They were already taking the UFO somewhere. They had a place to go. There were people in place to cover it up immediately. The next day, the person that didn't know about all of this made the announcement. And then immediately the people that were in the know, the Area 51 guys, although Area 51 was not a thing at the time, but the breakaway group was already in place at that time. They descended on Roswell and immediately covered it up immediately. So God knows how long they've been up to this and dealing with it. I've traced it back to about 1907 at least. So anyway, he goes on. Members of the U.S. Senate committees, but yeah, I should say that, completing that thought, that if they're only going back to 1947, they are not going to get the truth. So, but that may be part of it. Maybe they don't want the truth. Maybe they're not allowed to get the truth. So anyway. Members of the U.S. Senate Committees on Intelligence and Armed Services are pressing forward with a multi-pronged new legislation to expand searches for government-held data on UFOs, proposals that reflect the lawmakers' deep dissatisfaction with the sluggish response. Okay, there we go. Defense and intelligence authorization bills that are now advancing in Congress would create multiple new mechanisms to probe for possible past or current government-affiliated programs, archives, or witnesses that may possess significant information or material relating to what the new legislation relabels as unidentified aerospace undersea phenomena, UAP. The fullest expression of the potential legislative response is on display in the fiscal year 2023 Intelligence Authorization Act, posted online July 14th by the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. The committee approved the bill on June 23rd, 2022 in a closed-door session. The 38-page bill contains 31 pages of revamped and expanded UAP-related requirements. These include provisions crafted to elicit fuller cooperation by the Director of National Intelligence and all intelligence agencies in creation of a secure system to encourage current or past government and contractor employees with UFO data to channel that information to the central UAP office and ultimately to Congress without incurring legal jeopardy or risking job reprisals. Okay, well, that would be wonderful. But again, the Area 51 guys are not going to, it's not going to matter to the people that this really matters to. But it might get people like Lou Elizondo to be able to open up more. So that would be fantastic. The bill would also order both a government-wide search for UAP-related non-disclosure agreements and a comprehensive study of intelligence agency UFO involvement going back to 1947, the latter to be conducted by the Government Accountability Office, GAO, an organ of Congress. The UFO-related material is found on pages 47 to 117 of the PDF version of S4503. Searchable text is also accessible on government.congress.gov here. This article is an initial examination and analysis of the full package of proposed UAP language. It is not intended as a comprehensive treatment. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Senate committees initiate new language. It appears that this array of new congressional UAP-related proposals were initiated within the Senate Armed Services Committee and the SSCI, which have coordinated to a degree with their counterparts on the House Armed Services Committee and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. The proposals are advancing with bipartisan support in both houses. That's good. That's who's doing it. Excellent. Very good. One component in the package dealing with the creation of a secure system for government or ex-government employees and contractors to legally report previously secret UFO data was already approved by the full U.S. House of Representatives on July 13th. Without debate and without a roll call vote, as an amendment to the House version of the fiscal year 2023 National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA. The timeline for further congressional action. While a full array of UAP-related provisions is currently found only in the Intelligence Authorization Act, it is likely that the main vehicle for advancing such language will ultimately be the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023. The NDAA will probably, but not certainly, be amended to incorporate the entire Intelligence Authorization Act, including the UAP provisions discussed here, although most likely with further refinements. The NDAA is annually regarded as a must-pass legislation. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. The Gillibrand-Rubio-Gallego law would be substantially beefed up. The new UAP proposals represent a substantial modification of the landmark UAP law enacted known colloquially as Gillibrand-Rubio-Gallego law. It was the first to report in detail on the substantive provisions of that legislation when the final language emerged from the closed-door Senate-House negotiations on December 7th. As far as I can see, he writes, the proposed rewrite incorporated into S4503 by the Senate Intelligence Committee would remove or dilute nothing of substance in the 2021 law. Rather, the congressional drafters proposed to modify the legislative construction in several significant respects. The new proposals underscore the will of Congress that the Department of Defense and all of the intelligence agencies must deal with UAP in a more proactive, coordinated, and methodical fashion, and must collaborate with Congress in uncovering and consolidating whatever pertinent data may already exist in government-affiliated programs, archives, or the memories of witnesses and program participants. AIMSONG, now ARO, would become Unidentified Aerospace Undersea Phenomena Joint Program Office, UAP JPO. Okay, that's not too bad. I mean, Arrow is a little catchier, or RO. I don't know quite how they're pronouncing that. Arrow is definitely catchier. But UAP, JPO, I guess that works okay too. And it gets UAP right out front, so there's no disguising that that's what this office is for. So the Pentagon UFO office was created administratively through an order issued by blah, 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 successor of the task force. Let's see. Since then, the Pentagon has been slow in standing up the new enterprise, which was supposed to be operational by June 2022. In May 2022, an aide to Gillibrand, prime Senate sponsor of the 2021 law, told Politico's Brian Bender, Senator Gillibrand believes that the DoD needs to take this issue much more seriously and get in motion. They have had ample time to implement these important provisions, and they need to show us that they are prepared to address the issue in the long term. In the same article, Bender quoted an aide to Senator Rubio, the lead co-sponsor of the law, stating, "Rubio is definitely frustrated. They are not moving fast enough, not doing enough, not sharing enough. It is not at the level it needs to be." Well, absolutely, it is not at the level it needs to be. I mean, they're openly lying to Congress and to the American people and still trying to suppress this issue. So, and here's the update. On July 20th, 2022, the Pentagon announced that the office organized in accordance with the requirements of the Gillibrand-Rubio-Gallego law would now be known as the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or RO or ARROW. The Pentagon also released memoranda sent to senior Pentagon officials by Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks and Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security Ronald Moultrie, who is one of the liars that testified before Congress, summarizing organizational lines of authority and mission. Note, however, that enactment of all or part of the pending legislative proposals discussed in this article could require the Pentagon to make further adjustments. Among these, again, changing the name of the office. Yeah, and that was the UAP, JPO, I think, was what they're going to call it now, if this goes forward. And it seems likely that it will. As I reported, the writer says, on May 12th, I believe that the Undersecretary of Defense has picked a highly credentialed government scientist and intelligence officer, Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Well, I'm going to have to beg to disagree. Kirkpatrick was picked by Moultrie and Bray, so he is surely going to carry on the tradition of lying and covering up. They would not have appointed him if he was going to be honest. Maybe behind closed doors, he'll be honest with the Congress people, but since they openly lied to Congress, I doubt it. But maybe it's a case where they actually openly lie in the open session, and in the closed session, perhaps they do reveal the truth, in which case the topic could at least be advanced behind closed doors. But I'm highly doubtful that's going to happen. I think these guys have been compromised by the breakaway group, so I have no faith in Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Sorry, but if Lou Elizondo comes out and says that Kirkpatrick is great and he's going to be open and transparent and further the cause, then maybe I'll change my mind. But at the moment, I am not pro Kirkpatrick. Anyway, so he's going to be the director of the new UAP office, according to this. The Pentagon has yet to make any public announcement on that selection, nor has it said much at all about the process of implementing the law. However, in May 17th, testimony before a House Intelligence Subcommittee under Secretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security Ronald Moultrie, the Pentagon's top intelligence official, said, "We have, as of this week, picked the director for that effort, a very established and accomplished individual. We have worked with personnel across the Department of Defense with the services, and we have worked with the IC. A methodical approach is something that we are doing that has not been done before." He added, "We are open to all hypotheses. We are open to any conclusions that we might encounter." Update. In a press release, the Pentagon finally confirmed Dr. Kirkpatrick has been picked to head the UAP office, and that was just on July 20th. An attached bio said the request occurred in early 2022. Under the SSCI reported bill, Congress would rename the UAP office the UAP JPO. The director of this office would be appointed by and report to the Secretary of Defense, currently Lloyd Austin. The bill would create, and that's Austin, that's Moultrie, one of the liars before Congress. The bill would create a new statutory position of deputy director who would be appointed, it says by appointed, but I think it means be appointed, by the Director of National Intelligence, and who would report to both the Secretary of Defense and on some matters to the DNI. This is only one of several provisions, as summarized below, that appear designed to pull the DNI and the intelligence community into full collaboration with the Department of Defense in the congressionally driven UAP investigatory enterprise. Yeah, okay. All right. The new proposal would reenact the 2021 law's requirements that the Secretary and the DNI shall ensure that each element of the intelligence community with data related to unidentified aerial phenomena make such data available immediately to the UAP office. It would also require that within 180 days of enactment, the Secretary of Defense, the DNI, and the UAP office director establish a core group within the office that shall include, at a minimum, representatives with all relevant and appropriate security clearances from the CIA, NSA, Department of Energy, National Reconnaissance Office, Air Force, Space Force, DIA, and the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. I don't even know what that is. National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. The intelligence does not further elaborate on the function or composition of this group. The bill reenacts the 2021 requirement. Okay, there we go. We'll skip ahead. The bill would further tighten the screws on the IC by requiring that annually each head of an element of the intelligence community shall submit to the Congressional Defense Committees, the Congressional Intelligence Committees, and the Congressional Leadership a report on the activities of the element undertaken in the past year to support the office, UAP JPO, including a section prepared by the office that includes a detailed description of the coordination between the office and the element of the intelligence community, any concerns with such coordination, and any recommendations for improving such coordinations. Moreover, the UAP JPO director is required to twice annually brief the Armed Services, Intelligence, and Appropriations Committees on any instances in which data relating to unidentified aerospace undersea phenomena was not provided to the office because of classification restrictions on that data or for any other reasons. And here's an update. On July 20th, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence approved its explanatory committee report, which was posted online. The report contains a short section in which the committee rebukes the Department of Defense for the pace at which the department has implemented the requirements of the December 2021 Gillibrand-Rubio-Gallego UAP law. At a time when cross-domain transmedium threats to U.S. national security are expanding exponentially, the committee is disappointed with the slow pace of DoD-led efforts to establish the UAP in the form mandated by Congress, the report said. It went on to explain that the further mandates are intended to accelerate progress. An image of the entire UAP-related section of the report appears below. The July 20th committee report also clarified the sponsorship of the various UAP-related provisions found in the Section 704 Secure System for Reporting Sensitive UAP-related Information to the Pentagon office and via that office to Congress was part of the base bill laid before the committee by the SSCI Chairman Senator Mark Warner and the ranking Republican Senator Marco Rubio. In section blah blah blah, they were it was offered as amendments by Senator Roy Blunt. All of this UAP material was accepted by the unanimous consent or on voice votes. Both the final amended bill and the committee report were approved unanimously by the 16 Senator committee. Yeah, okay, they're creating a secure system for informant protection. Okay, well, that's terrific. I hope that advances the cause. That's awesome. Some may read the secure system reporting provision to suggest that the key congressional committees have already concluded that bombshell UAP secrets are lurking in various hidden projects or archives, or in the memories of participants in past secret projects. However, my perception is that this is more of an open-minded exploration. If surprising and important new information does come in and reaches lawmakers through the secure system, they will then have to decide among themselves what to do with it or about it. I believe it's possible that folks may be precluded from being fully transparent with Congress due to their being bound by non-disclosure agreements. Congressman Gallagher, the chief House sponsor of the reporting provision, told Politico, "If that's true, I want to make sure that there's no technical reason preventing them from speaking to us." Thus, if faced with a surprising revelation that key members of Congress thought should be made public, but military or other executive branch officials thought should remain under wraps, the lawmakers might have to seek or pressure to persuade the executive branch officials to waive the restrictions, or they might have to resort to new legislative measures. Yeah, good luck. Hypothetical hidden UFO projects. At a hearing conducted by the subcommittee of the House Permanent Select Committee, Congressman Gallagher asked the Pentagon's top intelligence official, Under Secretary of Defense for Intelligence and Moultrie. He asked Moultrie, "Could you describe any other initiatives that the DoD or DoD contractors have managed after Blue Book ended and prior to ATIP beginning?" Moultrie answered that he was not aware of anything that is official that was done in between those two programs. "I am not aware of any contractual programs that are focused on anything related to this. I will say no contractual or programmatic efforts that are involved. However," he added, "I can't speak to what people may be looking at in the department." So he's giving himself a little wiggle room to lie, but clearly there are other government programs that are doing this. There's the breakaway group, which he may or may not be in the service of. He is certainly in the service of suppressing UFO-related information. Now, is he doing that from a public safety point of view, preventing chaos and disorder that could result? Or is he doing it from a more, Area 51 breakaway group point of view? I don't know. But he is not going to be honest or transparent, and it is obvious that there are other government programs. Just if you've seen The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, the finale, Brandon Fugel talks about how different government agencies have been surveilling the ranch, and he actually does not think they are linked together. He thinks there are actually different groups, different factions within the government keeping tabs on the ranch, which is interesting. I would have thought they were probably more organized and those different branches were linked somehow, but he disagrees. He thinks there are different factions, and I think that there are different factions. I think the Navy is definitely a faction, or people within the Navy is a faction, and there are people within the Air Force clearly that are a faction, and surely they are the bigger faction. That's the Area 51 Wright-Patterson group. In the 80s, Colonel John Alexander formed an ad hoc group of employees from a number of federal security agencies who held high security clearances and who were also personally interested in UFOs. Calling themselves the Advanced Theoretical Physics Project, they went looking for the secret UFO program that they were sure must exist. They could not find one. Well, of course not. Alexander wrote in his 2011 book, worth noting is that even at the most senior levels, some officials shared the conventional mythology of the general population regarding UFOs. Despite their high-level positions, they all seemed to think that someone else was responsible for the topic. Well, somebody is, and I'm sure that Colonel John Alexander does believe that the government is doing something and keeping some secrets. But he went out looking for him and he couldn't find him, of course. So, I mean, anybody aware of the Wilson leak knows that even at the highest levels, people with the most access in the government and the military cannot get access to this stuff. Christopher Mellon, who once held senior Senate staff positions dealing with intelligence programs and also served as Deputy Assistant Director or Secretary of Defense for Intelligence under President Clinton, told me I never saw any UAP programs of any kind at any level of classification in Congress or at DOD. Well, again, of course not. Not even Chris Mellon has access to this stuff. And it's interesting that when he looked into the whole Bob Lazar issue, he had a friend that worked at Area 51 that told him, it was a no-go, that Bob was a liar. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that he was not, that Bob is on the level. And can we trust this random person that Chris Mellon knows at Area 51? I submit not. Does the legislation provide for amnesty? The proposed secure system reporting mechanism has been referred by some commentators as an amnesty provision, but the use of that term may cause confusion since the word conveys the erasure of liability for past criminal activity. The word amnesty does not appear in the bill, nor does immunity. The provisions appear to be crafted to ensure that nobody violates the Classified Information Statute or an NDAA merely by the act of reporting into the secure system. I see no language in the bill that would waive prosecution for any hypothetical criminal offenses that predated the act of reporting into the secure system. Interesting. Let's see. It goes on. I'm not going to read it all. You can read it at your leisure. A mandate for a compilation of all UAP-related non-disclosure agreements. Okay, historical probe by the Comptroller Government Accountability Office of UFO data back in 1947. The bill would direct the Comptroller of the United States to conduct a far-reaching historical review beginning in January 1st, 1947. The GAO describes itself this way. GAO, often called the Congressional Watchdog, is an independent, nonpartisan agency that works for Congress. GAO examines how taxpayer dollars are spent and provides Congress blah, blah, blah. The bill requires that within 1 year of enactment, the comptroller must begin a comprehensive effort to produce a complete historical record of the intelligence community's involvement with unidentified aerospace undersea phenomena, including successful or unsuccessful efforts to identify and track unidentified UAP and any intelligence community efforts to obfuscate, manipulate public opinion, hide, or otherwise provide unclassified or classified misinformation about unidentified aerospace and about UAP. The study must include a review of the records and documents of the intelligence community, oral history interviews, open source analytic analysis, interviews of current and former government officials, classified and unclassified National Archives, and other relevant historical sources. Update. On July 20th, the U.S. House of Representatives approved its version of the fiscal year 2023. It mandates a historical review by the GAO in terms nearly identical to Section 705 of the Senate version. However, in the approved version, there is one additional item on the list of things that the GAO must review, this being efforts to recover or transfer related technologies to the United States-based industry or national laboratories. Okay, so talking about reverse engineering this stuff. Even in the private sector, I guess. The day after Roswell stuff that Colonel Corso talks about. Interesting. For further information on the sorts of things that this might encompass, see the material that appears above under the section heading Hypothetical Hidden UFO Projects. Duties of the UAP Joint Program Office. The proposed new language largely replicates the list of duties being assigned to the UFO office that were enacted by the NDAA. However, some new and intriguing language would now introduce the list of duties and other duties that are required by the section, including those pertaining to A, transmedium objects or devices, and unidentified aerospace undersea phenomena, space, atmospheric, and water domains. That's interesting. Currently unknown technology, and other domains. So, other domains beyond space, atmosphere, and water. Are we talking underground? Are we talking other dimensions? I'm intrigued. The UAP JPO duties include establishing procedures to require the timely and consistent reporting of UAP incidents, evaluating links between unidentified UAP and adversarial foreign governments, other foreign governments, or non-state actors, in coordinating with other federal agencies, including the bill would add one new duty: ensuring that appropriate elements of the intelligence community receive all reports received by the office regarding a temporary non-attributed object or an object that is positively identified as man-made, including a procedure that the office refers such reports to an appropriate element of the intelligence community for distribution among other elements of the national community, the intelligence community. So again, that's the most fascinating part of all this to me. I mean, this is basically disclosure with, a capital D, not a soft disclosure. This is a capital D disclosure saying that this agency is specifically geared to researching and tracking and dealing with non-man-made objects. And this just point blank says man-made objects are referred to a different group. This group is specifically for non-man-made objects. That's huge. I mean, that should be a headline all over the world. I mean, that's just enormous. So, wow. I mean, that's just so huge. Anyway, it goes on a little bit. Subsection requires the director of the UAP JPO to supervise the development of a science plan to develop and test as practicable scientific theories to account for characteristics and performance of unidentified aerial phenomena that exceed the known state of the art in science or technology, including in the areas of propulsion, aerodynamic control, signatures, structures, materials, sensors, countermeasures, etc., to try to replicate any such advanced characteristics and performance. So, in other words, reverse engineering stuff. So, we're going to get this agency not only looking at alien objects, specifically point blank looking at non-human objects, but also point blank trying to reverse engineer them. So, that's fascinating. And, you have to wonder how that's going to, if that's going to rub the Area 51 guys the wrong way. Are they going to try to sabotage this effort? And it's also interesting that all of this is coming from, the Congress and from people like Chris Mellon, who are pushing this issue forward. But the actual people in charge, like Moultrie and Bray and Shirley Kirkpatrick, are going to try to obfuscate and lie and undermine the effort. So are the Congress people, who are the supposed representatives of the people, are they going to be able to go against these government insiders who have been suppressing this stuff forever? So, people like Chris and Lou, they had to get out of the government to move this forward. But in order to really move it forward, they have to work with the government, which is still suppressing this stuff. So anyway, it's fascinating. It goes on. It's a long article. I've gone on long enough. But please let me know what you think in the comments below. We're still in the fog of war on all this, but it's super fascinating. And, there are signs for encouragement. But if Kirkpatrick is leading this, I am not encouraged at all until and unless Lou comes out and says Kirkpatrick is awesome and is going to push this forward in a transparent way. But, I'm not seeing that. If you're seeing that, let me know. There is a bio of Kirkpatrick that is linked from this article. Maybe I will go and read that and get back to you with further thoughts on this guy that is going to be running this agency, assuming he still is after all of these changes. Anyway, please hit like, Please subscribe, and if you do subscribe, please hit the bell next to it to be notified of future videos. Again, comment below, let me know what you think about all of this. This is super fascinating. I know it's a little dry, but it's also super fascinating. So, I mean, we have an agency within the government specifically going after aliens and reverse engineering stuff in congressional language. I mean, that's a bill in Congress. That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. Anyway, so let me know what you think about all of this. There's Twitter links below. Please follow me on Twitter. Please follow me on Facebook. If you want to support the channel, there's also a PayPal link below. Until next time, Cosmic Road out.